I wanted to make a video of myself right after I wake up in the morning, literally just like in bed, like, okay, maybe I like do this to my hair, but no makeup. And I just say, good morning. You know,
risky, like, super risky there, Rebecca.
Risky. But you know what? I would rather attract people who dig that video than people who are going to like talk shit about. Like, if you're going to talk shit about my video, you can fuck off.
Like, people make up stories about almost anything that you do. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of I Hate Dating Apps. I'm Gina.
And I'm Daniel.
Okay, so Daniel, I can't tell you how many times I have failed to actually make it to the actual in-person date because I hated the way somebody communicated with me. Or maybe the bigger problem is the one that I mostly encountered was where it would be like, hey, how are you? Great, how are you? Great, how are you? You know, it's like this absolutely mind-blowingly frustrating way that people communicate only on dating apps, because you would never do that in real life, right? You wouldn't do that with your clients. You wouldn't do that with your family. I mean, hopefully not. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't do that with your friends, where you're just like talking in circles and going nowhere and then never like actually getting to meet up with somebody. This is very much a dating app frustration. And so that's the topic that we're addressing today.
Wonderful. And I think it's something that a lot of people on dating apps, particularly, just because of the impersonal nature of it and the fact that it's digital, it's texting.
Yeah,
right? So,
you don't owe this person anything.
Much, yeah, and so I think having some communication skills that a lot of people assume, like just because I know how to talk and how to text, I know how to communicate, not necessarily.
Oh yeah, everybody thinks they're the world's best communicator.
Everybody thinks that they can. And to your point, it's like, what's up? You know, that's not communication.
Hey.
Yeah. So to help us with this, we actually have a professional communications coach. Her name is Rebecca Williams.
Wow.
She coaches some, world leaders and CEOs on how to communicate effectively and show yourself authentically. And all the way from Lisbon, Portugal, we got Rebecca Williams.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi. Good to see you guys. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Tell you about myself. Well, let me start by saying I'm single. And thanks to my conversation with Daniel the other day, I got inspired actually to go on the apps again. I am going to try again. It had been dormant for a long time.
Oh,
because I was just done, like I'm sure a lot of your listeners have gotten there many times and turned off the apps and then go back on.
Congratulations. And I'm sorry.
Yes.
Both.
Yes. I know it's kind of like buying a boat, right? Like It's the happiest day, it's the worst day of your life. Yeah. So I, like Daniel said, I am a communications coach and trainer. I work with leaders around the world. I live in Lisbon, so a lot of my clients these days are in Europe. I work with big companies like Google, YouTube, Meta, Netflix. Also, I help a lot of people who especially are in very analytical fields, so scientists, blockchain, deep tech. I help them communicate with clarity, but also in an engaging way, because sometimes these topics can be a little dry. So I help them with storytelling.
Did you ever work with Elon Musk?
No.
She clearly did not work with Elon Musk.
It's clear that nobody's worked with Elon Musk.
He'd be a lot better if she did.
I think he's got his own program. Like I'm not interested in going
He's one of those
but,
people that thinks he's an amazing communicator, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
He could use some Rebecca Williams.
Yeah.
So Rebecca,
yeah.
I mean, obviously you do this as a job, and you're helping people out there connect, like CEOs connect with their audiences. How does that translate into the dating world and dating apps? What do you observe? How do you think what you teach these executives? How could that help, our audience members who are on dating apps and trying to make this work?
Yeah. So one of the things that I really notice is that when I work with someone, they have an idea, right? They have something that they want to share with the world. They're really excited about it. And that's great. We need ideas, and we need people to be enthusiastic and passionate about things. But what they forget is that their audience number one is often not a subject matter expert in what they're doing. So they may not be as excited or as well versed as the speaker. Number two, they often forget it's their job to engage the audience around their idea before they lay down the message. So a lot of times I'll work with people who say like, this is my idea. And, why aren't you excited about it? Like they're surprised when other people don't pick up what they're laying down immediately. And it's because they haven't done the job of connecting with their audience first. And connecting with the audience, I always say, always connect with the audience first, and always on purpose. I know that's a strong word, because if you don't connect first, it's kind of like electricity. If the wires aren't touching, nothing will go through. So you have to figure out like, okay, how can I connect with the audience around this topic and get them kind of leaning in a little bit, or at least have their ears open to me, or their, like Aristotle talked about ethos, pathos, logos, right? So we need all of these three parts online. It starts with ethos, and ethos is the gut. Ethos is essentially, do I trust this person? Do I like this person? And do I believe that they care about this topic that they're talking about? Pathos is the heart, which is storytelling, emotion. And then logos finally is the data and the logic, and usually the proposition or the proposal. So we need all of these things online. And so many people I work with, the ethos is usually there because they've got a CV and they've got a fancy title, right? And they're excited about what they're up to. But what's often missing is the pathos, the storytelling, which is often bringing in some vulnerability. That's the part that's often missing. And the logos is usually there as well. So it's usually the pathos that's missing, that storytelling, that vulnerability, that emotionality.
Which is which is what you're saying earlier about the connectivity.
The connection, yeah. Right. So I mean, I could go on for hours about storytelling and the importance of storytelling and why storytelling works. But I mean, the main thing is that stories create emotions, and that emotions give us that spark to actually change our behavior, right?
Right.
So when we tell stories, we can naturally connect with people because they'll see, even if it's a super narrow experience that you had, it's counterintuitive, but people can see themselves in your story. Mm-hmm. So they're like, oh yeah, I totally get it. So I've already said a lot here, but the main thing I've seen with people I work with is that they don't figure out how to connect with their audience first. And usually that means not being vulnerable, not telling a story, not asking a question even. Like that's like super low stakes, is like, can you ask me a question?
Yeah.
And I'll speak from personal experience. It's one of the reasons why I continue to get off the apps, is because I'm tired of being the one asking all the questions. Like I don't want to do my job when I'm not working. Yeah. So it's so exhausting to be like, and how about you? And tell me more about that. Like mm-hmm. I don't want to interview people. So,
yeah, but I mean, so yeah. We're all in that crazy, frustrating, mind-numbing loop of one person's doing all the asking. And, to be fair, a lot of men will say that they're the ones who do that, and the women will go, good. Or, they get the sense that the woman is toggling her dates, her options on the apps. And then when they exhaust the ones that they think are their top picks, then they'll start responding to the person who's been asking them very nice, thoughtful questions and go, okay, maybe I'll try this person. So it's that the nature of feeling used through communication or lack thereof that makes the dating apps what they are, which is an incredibly frustrating place to be. And you've been on the receiving end of that. I've been on the receiving end of that. I communicate for a living. So I feel like you and I are preaching to each other's choir. But what are what I'm hearing maybe you say is that one way that you could become a better communicator and not contribute to the ridiculousness of dating app communication is to maybe try, oh, I saw on your profile that you grew up here. Oh my goodness, I was there last year where I, went to the state fair and saw that they had I don't know, Oreo covered hot dogs. Did you ever have one of those? Or, something like that, right? Where you're just connecting to that person's commonality.
Well, if you're eating Oreo covered
I'm
hot
fairly
dogs,
certain somebody in the world has Oreo covered hot dogs.
If you're eating that, you're already off of a lot of people's lists. But
I know, right?
I would swipe,
maybe don't lead
left
with
on
that.
for sure. Yeah. So this is yes to what you're saying, and this is fascinating. So last weekend, I actually did. I'm always learning. I'm a nerd, and I did a communications training with some former CIA operatives.
Ooh.
And they were teaching us all about social engineering and tactical communication. Mm-hmm. So essentially like getting people to tell you what you need, like getting information essentially, right? Imagine CIA. And so one of the things they taught us, and when you think about it, we kind of do it already, but we don't know that we're doing it. And people who, I don't know if I could say succeed because I don't know the data on it, but I would say that people who are successful on the dating apps, they're probably doing this already very well. And so it's called low CID. And I'll just talk about the first part of it because low stands for location occasion. And location occasion is exactly what you're talking about, Gina, which is what is that thing that you can connect with the person around that they will say yes to. So, for example, you said Oreo covered hot dogs, right? Oh, I saw that you ate Oreo covered hot dogs at the state fair. Was that a crazy experience?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming, I don't know. I'm assuming that you're going to say, yes, that was a crazy experience. And the goal as a CIA operative, and I know this is slightly different, but the goal is you want to get that person to say yes to something that you said, because then they're more likely to say yes to the next thing.
Interesting.
Okay. So it's engineering, right? But it stands true for dating apps as well. What is that location occasion that you can name that's going to draw the person out, that's going to spark a conversation? Hey, I noticed someone did this to me the other day on the apps. I wrote in my profile that I love writing and that last year I wrote a 3-act play. And the guy said, oh, where can I find your writing? Like, where can I read that? And I was really impressed. I was like, oh, that's super nice. And I'm in the process of like sharing that with him. So it shows interest. It shows, I mean, at the end of the day, what helps all of this is just be curious about other people.
Ugh,
like, even if it doesn't lead to another date, like, are you actually interested in other people or is it all about you and your goals and desire? You know what I mean?
But I think that's fundamental. Yeah. I think we're assuming that the people who listen to this podcast are not total assholes and self-centered assholes.
If they listen to our podcast, they're obviously not assholes.
Right. So exactly. So they're looking. Yeah. But I think part of the problem is that in society in general, like we're living much more isolated lives, much more self-centered lives, right? Yes. So to what you're saying, when you say be curious, I mean, that's one of the thing that it's one of the pearls of wisdom of mankind. It's like, be curious. Like Ted Lasso, it's like there's this famous line in Ted Lasso. It's about being curious, which is essentially another way of saying be empathetic. It's not all about you, dickhead. Right. It's because especially if you're trying to connect with other people. But I think fundamental to this issue is that a lot of people are self-centered nowadays. And I think social media and digital apps and dating apps in a way kind of train you to be more self-centered because we're so focused on selling ourselves. Put that profile picture on, advertise yourself. So the instinct, instead of being curious is to try and sell myself, like just dump everything about me on you, right? So in the way you train, your clients, and something that would apply to the non-dickheads out there who are not self-centered and actually want to connect with people, right? Is be curious, genuine curiosity though. Because I think you can fabricate curiosity, and there are a lot of people who can manipulate people and get them into doing stuff. But genuine curiosity, how does that now actually show up? So tell us a little bit, like on the dating app, because in the dating apps, you're putting a profile up, and honestly, a lot of people just swipe based on pictures. I know a lot of men, especially, they're just like, if you, it's just like,
game.
Like boom, 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 boom. Like they're not even reading the profiles. By nature, that's not curious, right? I'm just curious about what what your face looks like, but I'm not curious about what you're interested in. But if I were to, if I, vice versa, if I'm a man or a woman with my profile, if I am trying to attract people who are actually curious about me, what are some of the tips that Rebecca would have in terms of how can I sate that curiosity, or how can I use that to connect with someone initially in a dating app to lead to potentially a meet or a date?
So are you asking about how to put up a profile that makes people more
Yes,
curious,
exactly.
or
Yeah, yeah. Right.
how
Because
to,
yes,
yeah.
yes. So how do you make that connection? Like, so with what let's solve for folks out there who are using dating apps to, like, and I'm taking away all the self-centered people or people who are just trying to, find casual sex. Like, if you're out there genuinely interested in connecting with another human being romantically through the dating apps, and you said connectivity is key, and part of that is, curiosity. So how do you accomplish that in a very impersonal technology that almost, by nature makes you not curious?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I love about Hinge, I don't know if you can do this on other dating apps. I think you can. They have an audio function where you can record yourself answering a question. And I think there's also a video function, if I'm
All of them
correct.
have those.
Yeah. Okay. So what I've noticed is that very few people use that. And I think the reason why is it's very intimidating, right?
Oh, I was gonna say it's because they're dickheads, but yeah, it could also be.
Yeah. I think it's very intimidating. I mean, just the way it's intimidating to put yourself on social media sometimes. I mean, I'm sure all of us at the beginning really struggled with that. And now, like for me, I don't care anymore because I've done it so much, like whatever, it doesn't matter. But I've really noticed that people, at least the people that are coming across my field of vision, are not doing that. And there's a couple things about that that's interesting to me. Number one is that I don't know if you felt this way, but I know that when I look at a picture of myself, I generally don't like it. Like it's very, very narrow where I'm like, I like that photo. Like you take 30 photos and you get one maybe, right? That's why photographers take so many photos. Well, the reason why that is because when we are static, we're frozen. It's only a sliver of our personality comes out. And I don't know about you, but like I have weird tics and my lip goes to the side or whatever. And when I look at photos of myself, I see and I latch on to those little tics, and I'm like, well, that's not really me, but it is me. But what's great about video and also about audio, but I'll talk about that in a second. What's great about video is 360, I'm not faking anything right now. And like I can see myself and I'm like, yeah, I look pretty good. Like, okay, my bangs are a little messed up, but whatever. I'm happy because I know I'm presenting my full self in this video. I
Yeah,
am being
so I'll
authentic.
tell you why most people don't do that. And I,
Tell me.
despite being an on-camera person myself, I never did that. It gives them one more piece of information to not like you. Like maybe they liked you based on the photos and they'll take a chance on you based on the photos. I should say probably like this was not necessarily my reason for not doing it, but I know a lot of people would rather not give me one more piece of themselves that could make me say no. Like maybe I like their photos, but ooh, they took a video in front of something where I was like, I think that's a blankety blank place, and therefore I'm making now assumptions about this person. And why are they taking a video in this space? And now I'm just spiraling about this person's video and storytelling about things that may not be even true. And then maybe like I thought a person sounded a certain way. And then now I hear their audio on Hinge and I'm like, that's not how I picture them to sound. I don't know if I like that voice. So you see what I'm saying? That just, I think that's why people don't do that.
But doesn't that bring, I mean, that brings up a fundamental question then, right? So, I mean, that makes sense on a logical level, on a rational level. It's like, oh, you know, I don't want to give people any more reasons not to like me, which makes sense at a rational level. But if you take a step back and look at that statement or that mentality, it's like, well, hold on a second. So basically what you're saying is that your only chance of attracting another person is to not show your whole self. So then what is the long-term plan here? Like the only thing that is good about me is my eyes. So, you know, I'm not going to show you anything else but my eyes. You're going to fall in love with my eyes, but I'm not going to show you my mouth because you might not like my mouth or my nose.
Well, I'll tell you why.
But at some point, you're going to have to show your nose and your mouth.
Because people are so freaking subjective. Okay. So the video that I upload where I think I look amazing and sound amazing and I'm in an amazing place, or maybe I'm just even like in my bathroom or whatever, is my opinion that I look that way and sound that way. But another person would be like, whoa, girl, right? And whereas if I uploaded a different video from my kitchen talking about what I'm going to eat that day, might attract a whole nother set of people. So because...
But what kind of people? So that assumes when somebody says that to me, it's like, well, it doesn't sound like to me that you know what you don't know what kind of person you want to attract. So you're saying, you know, I don't want to put a Ford. I don't want to put myself in front of my car Ford because what if there's a Chevy guy out there and I don't want to be in front of a Chevy.
Or somebody's like, ooh, he drives a Ford truck. That means he's MAGA. Exactly. You know, like maybe they just jump to that conclusion.
But wouldn't you rather put yourself like, yeah, I drive a Ford truck, F-150, but I'm not MAGA. You know, whatever. Like at the end of the day, don't you want to put your genuine self out there and let there be what it might be? Not everybody's going to like you. This is not a popularity contest. And I think that's part of the problem. I think the dating apps create this idea of a popularity contest. People go into dating apps, even though they say out loud, I want to meet someone, everything that they do on the dating apps tell me that you're not trying to meet someone. You're trying to be popular. You're trying to get 1,000 people to swipe you right instead of the one right person swiping you right. So what am I going to do? I'm not going to put up a video where, ooh, I might not, I might turn off these kind of guys. I might turn off these kind of girls. So I'm going to like cultivate myself to exactly this, as generic as I can be, to attract as many people that I can. And then you're surprised that you're not finding it because you cast your net way too fucking wide. Right?
Yeah. All I can say is
I want to interrupt here, you guys. So you're both right. You're both right. Okay. Gina, for sure, if you post a video, there are going to be a lot of people who tell stories about the video that aren't true, and they're going to swipe left. And I say your video is your filter. Like, let them see you. Let them, did I actually do this, or was it just an idea I had? I can't remember, to be honest. But
sorry, it's a good idea. Let's go with it.
I have a lot of ideas. So I think I just had an idea. I didn't do it. I wanted to make a video of myself right after I wake up in the morning. Literally just like in bed, like, okay, maybe I like do this to my hair, but no makeup. And I just say, good morning. You know,
risky, super risky there, Rebecca.
Risky, but you know what? I would rather attract people who dig that video than people who are going to like talk shit about. Like, if you're going to talk shit about my video, you can fuck off. You know, like I don't.
But Rebecca, have you thought about the fact that they might dig that video because they're like, oh, she's showing me what it's like to wake up next to me. And this is a come hither.
I actually think that this is why I didn't do it, because I thought about that later.
That's
but
what I'm
my
saying.
Point is,
the video makes you second guess every possible angle that somebody's, when your intention is very innocent. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Our sponsor, Take My Face Off, makes swiping off your makeup just as easy as swiping past a bad profile. Seriously, the MIDI from Take My Face Off is this adorable facial mitt that makes skin cleansing faster, easier, and more thorough than any other method I've tried. I seriously love this product. Next time you're tempted to grab a face wipe, use a MIDI instead. It's just as fast, but it's better for your skin and the planet. Get free shipping with the discount code DATING at takemyfaceoff.com. Right? Your intention is one thing. How they interpret it. We've had discussions on this podcast about people going, oh yeah, I post a lot of pictures where I'm with like my girlfriends and my guy friends and we're out having fun because I want them to see that I'm a fun person. I also post a lot of pictures of myself where I'm in exotic international locations because I want people to know that I love travel. And then like we've literally had like the person right after them say, that tells me that they're a snob, that I can't be with them because all they do is spend money going on trips that I can't afford. And it also tells me that they're too much of a social butterfly and they can't just be by themselves. Like people make up stories about almost anything that you do.
But that might also, like, actually, I see what you're saying. I mean, part of that is filter, right? It is a filtering mechanism. So you're trying to attract people that you might have something in common with. But you're right. I mean, it is perilous waters in the sense that you put a video up of when you just wake up because your intention is to show what you look like when you wake up. And this is what I look like when I just wake up in the morning.
This is just the raw me.
And then somebody gets a message, she's like, you're telling people like, don't you want to wake up next to me? Now, there's always the chance of miscommunication. That's why this is so hard, because for every, and we've had this experience in this podcast, for every suggestion that somebody comes up with, there will always be a comment like, that doesn't work, because people come up with anecdotal examples or specific instances where something like that doesn't work.
And that is why dating apps are so hard, because you are literally swimming in the ocean of people who have opinions about everything that are completely divergent from your own. And you're like, wait, no, that's not what I mean. That, how could anybody even think that? But they think that.
I just had this image, I think we're old enough to remember the Three Stooges. And it almost feels like, those Three Stooges when you're getting slapped, like whichever way you look over, you slap, or you look slap. It's like there's just no winning,
That's the dating app for you. You're just perpetually getting slapped. No, I'm just kidding. But I do go ahead.
I think one of the things that we should talk about, and we are talking about it already, is just nonverbal communication. So 55 to 75% of communication is nonverbal. So it's not exactly what you're saying, but it's what you look like, how your body's moving, body language is included in that. What does your background look like? Like there's a reason why I have the halo behind me. It's very intentional. Like I want people to listen to me. And so I make it look like more authoritative somehow in my own quirky way. Right. So,
or you look like an angel in a triptych, medieval painting.
Exactly. So we have to think about all of that. And I agree. Like the bed example is also, it can give two different communication signals. One is like, hey, like this is me unfiltered. And the other is, hey, baby, like let's get in bed together. Right. And so we do have to weigh these two stories, these two narratives that come out of certain communication. That is an extreme example. You can still make a video that is quite neutral, but that still has some nonverbal cues in it that shows who you are. I mean, we do this all the time anyway in our work worlds, right? Like we all are on Zoom all the time, and we all have a background, or we have a virtual background because we want to communicate something. And, one of the things that I tell people, especially the people who have virtual backgrounds, is that studies have shown that when you use a virtual background, people trust you less.
Oh.
Because think about it, like you literally are hiding something.
Right. You're hiding something in the background.
You're hiding something. So it's all a choice at the end of the day. Like, what do you want to show? If you have a pet, maybe you want to show your pet because that's part of who you are, right? All of this is a choice. And I would say that there are no wrong choices. It's just all an expression, right? And not everybody is going to jive. Not everybody is going to like your expression. And that is the whole point. But the problem is when we start to dial back the expression because we're worried about the storytelling, which does happen, then we start to get the super like vanilla Muzak personality online that I don't believe will help us find meaningful connection with another human being.
Well, I agree with that. But in the beginning, you do have to be a little vanilla. I'm not saying you stay vanilla. Nobody wants vanilla the rest of the relationship. But in the beginning, a lot of our audience tend to be men who are, by far having the most difficult time on the apps. It's very much like the women get thousands of likes. The men get maybe one like a week, if that. They get one date a year, if that, And so there's a real struggle here. And it may not be coincidental that men just stereotypically are the ones that have a tougher time kind of communicating the way that women do, right? And women are maybe unrealistically expecting men to communicate the way they do, but they they're not women. So what are some tips, I guess, for our audience where through that vanilla stage, I like the be curious. Having said that, of course, that could also be interpreted a couple different ways. Like I've been curious about people where I've been like, oh yeah, okay, so what did you do there? And they're like, whoa, girl, you're interviewing me. And I'm like, oh wait, I was just being curious,
But that tells you something about that person.
Exactly.
Though.
Like, oh, maybe I don't
information.
like you
Yeah,
because
exactly.
now you're just firing off and being
Right.
all sensitive.
Right.
When that wasn't even my intention.
Right.
But that's also the difficulty of dating apps is you're texting, right? They can't hear your intonation or anything. And maybe they just had a conversation with somebody else who was interviewing them. And now I'm being cast in that light because they've already come into my conversation with that perception. So because you have no idea what that person's experience has been like, what their life has been like, it's you almost have to stay vanilla in the beginning. So I like your curiosity, but I would say be curious kind of with a little bit of a vanilla tone in the beginning, like maybe make it more fun and playful versus some deep diving curiosity in the beginning, at least while you're just trying to like get to first base with this person. I like your nonverbal, like what are some of the things maybe in your photos that you're presenting?
Oh, 100%.
That people could read into. What's that nonverbal communication you're doing just from your profile? And then so what are some other things for our daters out there?
Well, I want to speak to what you're saying about the curiosity because yes, be curious, but to what level? Like that's essentially what you're saying, right? What I've noticed on the apps is there is a rushed familiarity, or it's almost like an assumed familiarity when you start messaging with someone. It feels to me like, oh, like you think I'm your buddy. Like there's no, I don't want to say formality, but it's leaning toward that. Like, for example, when you just meet someone, there are some more formal things that you do. I know in the States, we often ask like, well, what do you do? Like, that's one of the first questions.
Yeah.
But, in Europe, we don't really do that. We find that location occasion in a different way. Oh, you live in Lisbon. How long have you been here? There are a million ways to do that. But there's this, I almost want to call it like scaffolding, like you build some scaffolding before you try to build a big building. And sometimes I feel that people try to go like a feeling of, oh yeah, you're my buddy or you're my friend, or I don't need to give you the same level of like distance or formal respect that I would, because we're on the app and we are using this medium of text, which is naturally quite informal. So I think there's a mismatch there in just the medium and the way we're communicating that doesn't match with how well we know a person, you know, because I wouldn't talk to someone like that I just met. I would take the time and build that scaffolding and slowly build that trust with that person.
They don't let you. They don't let you. You can't even build anything because after the second interaction, they left swipe, you know, or unmatch.
That's part of the challenge of dating apps.
You have to get to it quickly.
All the bad habits of communication, of human behavior, manners get exacerbated on dating apps, right? Because it's just the sheer numbers and the quick conclusions and the knee-jerk reaction. So because the numbers are so big and people are making snap decisions about people. So you're right. I think that is one of the challenges of dating apps. In a way, it's a tool. It makes things a lot more efficient, but in a way, it creates this really bad habits. To your point, it's like you make assumptions about people. Right? It's like, I was just thinking about a funny thing. It's like, you know, you go into an elevator and you smell fart and you assume that the person that is in the elevator is the one who farted, but maybe it was somebody who was there before, but you're like, oh, you're making all kinds of judgments about this person in the elevator. Like you have no idea who owns the fart, you know?
Who owns the fart?
So, I love that. So it's like one fart taints everybody else who is in that elevator, right? And so,
true.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the challenge, but I'm really so how do you get around that though? I mean, it exists, the challenges exist. So what is the best approach for somebody who doesn't want to buy into any of that?
I really believe, and I know this is not going to be popular, I really believe you just need to get off the chat as fast as possible. Do a Zoom call if you don't want to waste time going somewhere to meet someone. But like, I think at the end of the day, we have to really ask ourselves, like, why am I on this app? Like, what do I want to get out of this? If I just want to keep having chats with people, I could do that for the rest of my life. But if I actually want to get to know someone, it's going to take a little bit more effort from me. So what is that next step going to be, and how quickly can you get to it? Because, you know, like the days of meeting people in laundromats are kind of over. Sadly, like that's how I met my first boyfriend, in the laundromat in Denton, Texas. I was waiting for my drying to be done, and we're just sitting there leaning on the machines, and he's like, "Hey, what's your name?" You know, and then like we almost got married. We were together for 4 years.
You met him on you met him in a Nora Ephron movie?
Yeah, well, and here's another thing. I want to say that I know we're talking about dating apps, but let's for a second jump out of that world and talk about the, you know, like IRL. How can we meet people IRL more? Because I think there is sentiment that people want that, you know, like I hate dating apps is the name of your show.
No, absolutely.
So how do we do that? Well, I think one of the ways we do that is we take our headphones off when we're out in the world, and we put our phones away.
Yes.
Like, I know I'm so guilty of all this stuff too. Like I'm always looking at my phone. I'm always engaged. I'm multitasking, texting with people. No one is going to come up to you and say, "What's your name?" if you're doing all that stuff.
Right.
So allow yourself to be a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more open, and maybe even you go ask someone like, "Hey, what's your name?" I do this all the time, and it probably freaks some guys out because I'm pretty, you know, I'm pretty out there, and I you know, I'm a communications person, and it's not everybody's flavor, but I love talking to people.
Yeah.
I was just in London, and I had so much fun because all of a sudden I can talk to everybody because everybody speaks English.
Yeah,
you know, I'm not like in Lisbon, you know, most people speak Portuguese, and my Portuguese is not super great. And so I was there, and I was talking to everyone. I had like a million different conversations with all the baristas and waiters and cab drivers and people I met on the street, and I had a blast. And so I want us to really ask ourselves, like, how often are we doing that? How often are we
exercising
in real
our
life,
communication?
Like,
really
actually
aren't.
in real life? Yeah. Because that's why the dating apps Well, that's not why the dating apps exist, but I think that's why they persist.
Right.
Because we've forgotten how to connect with people away from our devices.
It's easier to communicate through a device. I mean, we all know the stereotype of kids nowadays texting each other even when they're in the same room.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah,
we are
totally.
slowly losing this capacity to just connect at a physical level and just look at people and talk to them. And that's a real thing. Like, how many times have we gone to concerts where like you're like there at a Billy Joel concert, why are you taping it and watching it through your little screen when
Oh
it's
my
like he's
God.
live right
I
there?
know,
Like
I know.
it's just a thing of the times. But I think that is so true, right? We're losing this capacity to connect in real life because we're so digitally focused. And so, these are all great tips. So in conclusion, Rebecca, if with everything that we talked about, if you were to tell our audience, the people who are trying to make it out there in the dating app world, sum it up for us. Like, what are we doing wrong, or what could we be doing that would be more effective to make genuine connections with people?
Yeah. Well, and caveat that when I'm on the dating apps, I'm often doing it wrong too. So it's not that
We all are.
it's not
We
that
all are.
yeah, we all are. Like, I don't have all the answers and I am not an expert on the dating apps. But what I do know, authenticity is about connecting with other people. And we have to be willing to show up as authentic. And I know it's scary to put a video up or make a recording, but I know personally, I look for that and I'm really attracted to that because I know that I'm going to feel a more rounded sense of a person when they're being vulnerable like that and they're willing to connect with me on that level. And sure, pay attention to your nonverbal communication. Maybe you don't want to stand in front of a political poster because you don't want to have that conversation, right? Like, that's a charged thing going on right now. Maybe that's a conversation for later, or maybe it's not. Maybe you do want to lead with that because you really believe in that, but all of it's a choice.
It's intentional.
All of it is a
Yeah.
choice. It's intentional.
Yeah, it's intentional. I think that's a good place to leave it at. I think there is a lot of people grasping at straws in dating apps and in dates, right? It's like they're listening to a bunch of different advice, sometimes contradictory, and they're just trying to figure out what works. Maybe you started with, what is that you want? What's your intention here? And then start there.
But I think that curiosity is also key for me.
Curiosity.
I can't tell you how many networking events I go to where I'm like, oh, so yeah, where are you and what are you looking for and blah, blah, blah. Zero questions directed towards me.
Yeah.
Zero effort to get it.
So not sexy.
Oh my gosh. And they have no idea that they answered all of my questions and asked me none. Right. So there's a real lack of awareness out there. So I think if our listeners can even just take away one thing, it's to just genuinely be curious about another person. And if your curiosity leads them to think that they're on an interview, maybe they're not for you. But
exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Folks, questions are sexy. Just remember that.
Questions are sexy.
Questions
People
are
love
sexy.
being asked about
Sexy.
themselves.
Yeah.
Yes. And one last thing I'll add in here, people love the sound of their own name. So if you ask a question, so Daniel, tell me, how did you start this podcast? Where did that all come from? Use their name because people really respond when they hear their name. They love it.
That makes sense.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
really,
you.
This was fun.
Yeah,
It went
thanks,
by
guys.
so
That was
fast.
fun.
I know.
Went by. We could literally talk about this for hours. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your expertise
So could I.
and for being willing to come on here and give us some nuggets of information about how to communicate.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You're so welcome. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Enjoy Lisbon. Well, this has been another episode of I Hate Dating Apps,
Can't love with them.
and you can't love without them.
Till next time.
I hate dating apps.
Hey, app daters and haters, tell us your dating app experience, and we just might bring you on as a guest for future episodes. Head to IHateDatingApps.com and click on the big yellow Tell Us Your Story button. You can't miss it. We've got a lot of fun content on our social channels, so please follow us at I Hate Dating Apps on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And on Instagram, we're at I Hate Dating Apps Pod. And don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast.